What is up? Thank you for joining in today. We have a fun little review of probably my current favorite knife. Today we are looking at the Acta non-Verba A100. This is a Czech Republic made knife, sporting L-Max steel there as you can see, and this is my first ever crossbar lock knife that I got. And you're probably wondering, like, why didn't you go with a Benchmade? I don't know. Something about this stood out to me, and I'm pretty new to the whole knife world. So, yeah, first crossbar lock knife, and I feel like it was an interesting experience going with this first before getting my first Benchmade. I'm glad I did it this way because this is a fantastic knife in my opinion. However, compared to the smoothness and the like freeness of the way the Benchmade swings, I like this guy. You know, it's different, but it's fantastic. Anyway, that being said, bottom line, I like this knife. I like it a lot. I don't know if I would purchase it directly from A&V again, at least not living here in America. Base price on this is $156 or $160, and with that, the value added tax from overseas and shipping, I ended up paying about $225. Yeah, not great, but this was one of those, I saw it, I liked it, I needed it, I wanted some L-Max, and you know, this was a fantastic non-Chinese option for you know, getting that. Anyway, in my opinion, this is a fantastic knife, but maybe not for 200 plus. If you can get it for in that 160 range, I think this is a fantastic value. Let's jump into the good. First, L-Max. I mean, what's there to say about it other than this is a fantastic steel. This is the first knife that I was able to get like cut receipt paper while it's just standing there sharp, and that holds that edge like a champ. I spent 5 or 10 minutes the other day while we were moving to cut some hard zip ties, and this thing was still just about shaving sharp by the time I finished. So yes, this is an absolutely fabulous steel in terms of edge retention, edge stability, and it's just, I like it. The other thing is it's not extra thin behind the edge. It's thin enough, trust me. This thing is slicey, but it's also robust. The sort of high flat grind that it's rocking comes up, you know, high enough, but this is a relatively thin blade stock overall. I don't have calipers on me, so I can't tell exactly right now, but this thing slices without being too thin behind the edge to where it's going to start rolling a bunch. So yeah, edge geometry is great, and you know, it's a fantastic blade shape in my opinion. It's perfect for puncturing tasks if you need to do anything like that, and it's definitely very slicey. Just a little bit of a belly on there keeps things, you know, moving. The action on this specific knife right here currently is smooth. Fires out well, is nearly drop shut, but it did not start this way. And that is one of the gripes that I have with this knife. I don't know if it's just the fact that this one wasn't like super well lubed in the factory, or I don't know if they lubed them at all in the factory, but this thing was tight when it came out of the box, which is why I'm glad that I hadn't tried a Benchmade before this, because if I had, you know, had that nice perfect drop smooth, yeah, I can't really do it with my left hand that well, especially not looking at the screen here, but if I had had that perfect drop smooth, you know, Benchmade before this, I would probably have sent this back. But I am very glad that I spent the time to let this thing smoothen out, and this is one of my favorite knives to just kind of play with. It's not drop shut on like a bearing type level, but that's partly because it's not running on bearings, it's running on nylon washers. But the thing is those washers that A&V uses have little holes cut in the surface of the washer on one of the sets of washers on either side. So what that does is it holds some of that lube in to help you trap that and keep that smooth action. So for a nylon washer knife, I think this is a fantastic action. It just took forever to break in. Let's see, it feels good in the hand. Gives you a nice full grip while still maintaining a really thin profile overall. If you look at profile versus like a Rat 2, it's definitely thicker, but it's not by much. It's pretty minimal in terms of how much extra you have here. So this, while it is a large knife and it does fill out the hand well, it's not overly large, and it really does actually manage to disappear in your pocket. So that definitely is a big plus going for it, and it's been one of my favorite knives for daily use. I love playing with it, and it's a fantastic user knife. And like I said before, one of the bonuses is it's Czech-Made. It's, not quite as expensive. It's maybe about as expensive as a US made knife, but I'm a big fan of the stuff that comes out of the Czech Republic, so, all for that. Couple things that I had small issues with at first. Can be a little hard to tell. It's gotten a little bit better, but the blade centering was not quite perfect when I first got this knife. It seems to have sorted itself out, but that is something to note. These FRN or GRN handles is a fiberglass reinforced nylon. They do flex a little bit, so I think part of the issue with the centering before was the fact that the pocket clip was a little too tight and it was pushing down and kind of making the blade seem like it was favoring this pocket clip side, even though it may not have technically been. The other thing, it was a little sharp around some of the edges. I just knocked some of those down with some sandpaper, and that was not an issue. But along with it being a little bit stiff at first, came some break-in hand, I'm gonna call it, because I got a couple blisters from this knife from the amount that I was fidgeting with it while kind of getting it broken in. The other thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is this single side thumb stud. That's easily rectifiable by just picking up the extra thumb studs that they have. Acta Verba sells them in just on their own, so that if you want to have those double thumb studs, you can. The only issue is I believe those only come in the red that they have on the A200, which is in Sleipner steel with a G10 handle and a little bit different texturing on there. So while I'm not a huge fan of that, the limited deployment is kind of, a little bit of a bummer when it comes to the fidget factor. However, it's not a huge deal. These are great thumb studs. Easy to use. You really can't go wrong with where you put your finger placement. Obviously, if you're just pushing straight out, even that works. But having a double one for the thumb or the middle finger flick, or for a little bit easier time opening it left-handed, would be nice. The other thing, like I said, action out of the box was very tight. Not a big issue at this point, but something that you may want to be aware of if this is a knife that you're looking to get. The other thing too was the edge grind was not 100% even. You can kind of see where it's a little different there than it is on this side. That's, a fairly consistent problem that I've noticed amongst production knives, or at least mass-produced production knives. but that is, that was the case here. There's still a little bit of, I don't know if it's quite going to be able to focus, but there's a little bit of an area on the tip that I haven't been able to sharpen out where it's uneven. And so something to be aware of. I mean, you could get lucky and have a perfect grind. You could get unlucky and not. These things are mass produced, but I do believe hand assembled in the Czech Republic. So you're going to run into those uneven bevel issues. The other thing too was just those nylon washers. Would I like phosphor bronze? Yeah. Phosphor bronze would probably be a little bit smoother, but I don't know if the smoothness would last as long. Simply because with it being a tight knife, if you can't trap that lube in there, then you're gonna have to continually lube it. So I don't know if that's something that maybe they'll look into. You could do like a hybrid nylon and phosphor bronze and just replace the solid nylon washers with those PB ones. But that being said, still a great knife, still a very smooth action. And really my biggest issue is a non-captive pivot. This pivot free spins because it's not a D-shaped captive pivot. I do not like that. I haven't pulled this knife apart yet, mainly because A, I haven't needed to, but also B, that captive pivot just spins. If there's a little bit of Loctite on there, it's going to be a massive pain in the ass to get that off. Like I said, I haven't tried to disassemble this yet, but I think that's going to prove to be an issue when that time comes to, give this a good, solid, thorough deep cleaning. Or I was thinking of making some new scales out of some more exotic materials for it. But we'll come to that when we come to it. I do like that they have a lanyard hole, but it's recessed back in there. It's not, you're not sacrificing anything for that lanyard hole, because I know most people probably don't use a lanyard. The wire clip is very effective. I do like the shape. It is a little stiff, but that's not always a bad thing. It definitely has a secure hold in the pocket. It just can be a little difficult to repocket it sometimes if you're sitting down or whatever. I do kind of like to fidget in the car, so that can be a pain sometimes. But that's just held in with a little disc in the back that screws into. And yeah, it's a good little clip. Carries super deep in the pocket. The only thing that you can see out of the pocket is just the top of that clip. So very, very discreet, even though it is a full-size knife. Fun little feature that's not super useful, but the dot in the center of the thumb stud is glow in the dark. It does glow pretty strongly if you hit it with a bright flashlight or leave it out in the sun for a little bit, but it's not the most useful because that dies out in, I would say, 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how well you charged it. But cool little feature nonetheless. So we're starting to get a little long-winded, I feel like. I'm pretty sure we've gone over most of the stuff. In future reviews, I will add actual dimensions, or I'll maybe add actual dimensions on a little title card at some point while I'm just rambling. But yeah, fantastic knife. If you can get this for that 150 to maybe 175 range, this is a very good deal. If you're paying upwards of that, I would say maybe look for something else. Look for a Benchmade, something that is a little more value for the money. But for yeah, that 150 to 175 range, LMAX steel with some pretty solid FRN scales, nice and lightweight, disappears in the pocket, and a fantastic daily carry. I love this thing. So thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.